June and I've started Vlogmas. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books. I may be coughing throughout this video because I've got an incredibly sore throat and have COVID at the moment. Yes. Did a test, came back positive, and I used my ring light to check because I was just like, is that a line? Is that a line? Is that a line? Bugger. But I've got a book for you today. This book is Freckles by Cecelia Ahern. This is the front cover. There you go. I'm going to get straight in with that blurb and then I'll talk to you about it. 5 people, 5 chances. One woman's search for happiness. Allegra Bird's arms are scattered with freckles, a gift from her beloved father. But despite her nickname, Freckles has never been able to join all the dots. So when a stranger tells her that everyone is the average of the 5 people they spend the most time with, it opens up something deep inside. The trouble is, Freckles doesn't know if she has 5 people. And if not, what does that say about her? She's left her unconventional father and her friends behind for a bold new life in Dublin, but she's still an outsider. Now, in a quest to understand, she must find not 1, but 5 people who shape her, and who will determine her future. This is 352 pages in contemporary fiction, family sagas, general fiction and literary fiction, and its target audience is adult. It does have some kind of adult themes throughout it, so I think I agree with that. Maybe late teens, mid to late teens could probably enjoy this book as well. I will say that this was, because it's a drama, and I'm not usually the biggest fan of dramas, at least in book form, I just find them a bit slow. I was amazed at how quickly I read this book. Sorry, I'm like squinting because this eye is watering like mad. I thought, because of how the narrative is fairly slow, and the fact is not much happens. It doesn't change the fact that I did actually enjoy this book and I quite enjoyed the storytelling and the way that it's written. I've read books in this style before. Basically, it's ones where there's no quotation marks around dialogue. It can make it slightly hard to read at times. The main issue for me was working out what Allegra was thinking in her head versus what she was actually saying to people. I did have to reread certain sections just to double check what she was actually saying to people. It is, having said that I've read books in this kind of style before, it's been described as quite an Irish way of writing. But yeah, so you meet Allegra and you find out that when she was younger, when she was at a all-girls boarding school, at first she would draw, like a connect the dots kind of thing, all the freckles like on her arms. And then it came to, after drawing them, she started to kind of cut them. I will put disclaimers in this video in regards to what is essentially self-harm but also not at the same time. I think it's explicitly stated that she's not trying to harm herself. I think there's a bit of conflict because in a way it's a form of OCD, you know, when it comes to like skin picking or hair picking and stuff like that. Her connecting of her freckles is more like an obsessive compulsive thing, but she's not actively trying to harm herself. It's a habit that she has that she can't stop. And it's a very prominent part of the book because other people see the scars when she's an adult. She's 26 in the book, I want to say. And she originally wanted to be a police officer, but it didn't work out for her like that. And so in the book you meet her as a traffic warden because she keeps an eye on all the traffic around like her town centre, and she issues tickets to those who are parked in the wrong place or let their things expire, and so people don't like her even though she's doing her job. And I felt really sorry for her, but she does have to ticket people, and she is obviously doing her job. And then there's the point which kind of is included in the blurb where somebody, a stranger, who she does actually get to know throughout the book, when she tickets his yellow Lamborghini, I want to say it is, it's a sports car that she finds parked illegally quite a lot, and so she gives him lots of tickets, and he gets really angry with her, and it's just like, mate, if you just paid the parking you wouldn't have this problem. But he lets rip at her when she gives him another ticket, and basically screams at her that the people she hangs around with, or her 5 people, must be really horrible people because of how horrible she is. She takes that moment really to heart, where it's the average of 5 people I spend the most time with, and she really looks inwardly from that comment. Everything that happens thereafter the book revolves around that comment from Rooster. And, well, his nickname is Rooster, and he designs video games. He's described as a YouTuber who has now gone into business. He used to, like, play and review games, and now he's been given a job where he gets to create games. So it feels like a natural evolution from his life as a YouTuber to going into, like, more reliable work. Not that YouTube isn't reliable for some people, but obviously a lot of people can't make money off YouTube. I'm not making money off YouTube, this is just a hobby for me. Yeah, when she gets that comment from Rooster when he's really angry with her after like yet another parking ticket, and she takes it so to heart, she's really upset about it, and she starts to evaluate her own life and the people that she has in it. And she thinks that she only has one person in her life, which is her dad. She starts to evaluate friendships that she had back at home and how they're not really part of her 5 anymore. And she decides to contact people that she looks up to, celebrities, people like Amal Clooney, George Clooney's wife, and politicians and things, and basically saying, telling them the quote, telling them the comment that she received from Rooster, and saying that she wants those people to be a positive influence in her life. And so, I'll admit, it's never explicitly stated that she has autism, but because of the way she is set in her ways, I got the sense that she may be on the spectrum. I'm not diagnosing anybody here, it's just the way that she is described makes me wonder if possibly she is. But yeah, it's never explicitly stated, but with the way that she gets set in her ways and how disoriented she gets when her rhythm is broken, it does make you wonder. I'll just say that. I think for me, because I'm usually more a fan of fast-paced murder mysteries, I usually associate Cecelia Ahern with more magical realism and rom-com star books. So the fact that this isn't really a rom-com and it's more focused on Allegra's journey throughout the book in finding herself as a woman in her 20s and finding her routine disrupted. It was a pretty incredible book, actually. It's a bit heart-wrenching at times. There were times when Allegra was slightly unlikable, but it does come into how she finds herself. So I feel like that was kind of on purpose. And as you go through the book, especially kind of in the penultimate chapters of the book, when you're just there going, oh my god, is this actually going to end really horribly for her? Because just when you think everything's starting to work out, something happens and you're just like, oh, this is not the happy ending I was wanting. So it's a bit of a bittersweet ending. It's like half a happy ending and half not. But it was beautifully written. It was beautifully written. I do love Cecelia Ahern's writing. It's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous. The relationships that Allegra makes throughout the book, the friendships that she thinks she's making, and then realising that, oh, actually, 5 people that have influenced me the most, it doesn't have to be people I look up to. When she starts to evaluate the people that she does see every day and the people who she thinks is actually influencing her life, it's really sweet when you realise that Allegra is realising how her life has shaped up. Because you find out that she moved to Dublin to find her mother who left her when she was born. Her father was a professor who slept with a student, not his student, but he did sleep with a student, and then that student left as soon as the baby was born, and her father took her in and said, I want the child, so I'll take her, and then the mother doesn't have to have anything to do with this. Obviously, I believe in a woman's right to choose, and the fact that in this case, Allegra's mother chooses to have the baby and then leave, that's completely her prerogative. And Allegra's search for her mother is a big part of the story as well, and her relationship with Rooster, which goes beyond the confrontation where he shouts at her and belittles her about her job and says, you're just a nasty piece of work who's going off on a power trip. That's when the quote comes in. And Allegra gets really upset by it, obviously, because the fact is she's doing her job. She is doing her job. While other people might be really pissed off about the fact that they've come back to a parking ticket, they've done something wrong. They've not paid, or they've let the ticket expire, and Allegra tries to make things right with Rooster afterwards, because she's just there going, you obviously have a business here, so you can apply for a business parking permit. You don't just have to just park up and just think. They've got a guy in the office who is, it's his job essentially to check the parking meters and just check they're all topped up. And there's times when she gives them a bit of grace, because she says that there's like a 15-minute grace period after something's expired for them to come back and top it up. But there is one day where she kind of flips out, and it's when she's been a bit disoriented by everything. And she says to one of my co-workers, I think I gave a parking ticket to nearly everybody in this car park today. And they were just like, did you check if the ticket machine was working? And she's like, oh, I should have done that. So that day she admits that she made a bit of a mistake in not checking when she realised that pretty much everybody hadn't paid for their parking in a car park, and she just thought, oh, that should be the first thing I did, but I didn't do it. Seeing the relationship that she has with the people who she lives with, I say that loosely, she basically lives in almost like a little granny annex in the garden, and she's not allowed into the house unless she's babysitting. Her relationship with the people that own where she is staying. It's a really weird relationship, because the main house has like alarms all over it. So if she goes to the wrong place, she can set the alarm off. And I think she sets the alarm off once when she's drunk and falls into the bins. But then there's also a fox in the garden that sets it off, a friend who isn't a friend that sets it off, and she gets into trouble with them. I'm bordering on spoiler territory for what happens in this book, so I'm going to take a step back now. But yeah, it's Freckles by Cecelia Ahern. Beautifully written. It is slower than what I usually like, but it is a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book, and I feel like so many people can identify with Allegra. I identified with Allegra at certain points. There are points when I feel like a bit of a loner. It made me think about my 5 people. When I think about the people who I spend the most time with, I've got my parents there, I've got my sister there, I've got my niece there, and I'm just like, that's already 4 people. But in this case, Freckles, it's there thinking that she doesn't have 5 people. She thinks she only has 1. And yeah, there were just certain points when I felt like I identified with her and kind of how she feels a bit of a loner, because I'll admit sometimes I can be a bit of a loner sometimes. As an introvert, I like my me time. If things get too much, I really just go back into my shell. Just like, I just need some time to kind of get back into my own head again. Like this past weekend, I had a bit of an overwhelming day, and my sister and brother-in-law got very, very excited and started spewing numbers at things at me. And it got to the point when I got really, really overwhelmed, and I just stepped out, grabbed some water and went upstairs just to kind of calm down and get everything back out again. But when it comes to being overwhelmed, Allegra gets overwhelmed at quite a few points throughout the book, and I just really, really identified with that. And you get the idea that Allegra does have a form of social anxiety. She definitely comes across as more of an introvert than an extrovert. When you realise that when it comes to the whole 5 people thing, and she really, really evaluates it at the end of the book, which kind of leads up to like the final moments and what happens there. And it does come back to the letters that she writes to the influential people as well. You know, the politicians, the famous people that she looks up to and thinks, I want this person to be a positive influence in my life. And I think it's possible to have that without having a direct communication with them. Like I know there's people who I look up to who I'm not friends with. There'll be famous people who I follow on Instagram or something, but there's something about the way they live their lives or the way they work and their work ethic, and I'm just like, I want to have a career like that one day. I mean, for me, my biggest one would be Caroline Quentin and Julie Andrews. They've always been in my mind as like people who I'd be properly starstruck if I ever met them. And I know people who have and worked with Caroline Quentin, and so she's lovely, and that gives me hope. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you just like, I feel like you can have a positive influence from somebody without actually be genuinely friends with them. So for those 5 people, it's that 5 people is supposed to be the one that people you spend the most time with. The fact that Rooster uses it to belittle Allegra, but ultimately she actually finds comfort in that, saying, yeah, it's a coming of age story for Allegra in her 20s, as she evaluates her life and what she's doing with it and what her goals are, and evaluating the family and friendships that she has. Freckles by Cecelia Ahern, and the tagline on the front of the book is "Underneath her skin, she just wants to fit in." Just a beautiful book, and yeah, I felt like I got through it quite quickly, to be honest. I think I did it in about 3 days, reading it when I was getting ready for work, on lunch, and when I got home. Yeah, so I just had a bit of a coughing fit, so my eyes are watering like mad again. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I need to go blow my nose because I'm just gunky at the moment. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time with another video. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye! Oh, my eyes are watering like mad. Oh, I can't see.